So today we're going to be dealing with special right triangles. So this is going to be 18.3a, which is special right triangles. Now there's two different types of them. One's 45, 45, 90, and the other one's 30, 60, 90. So before we get into dealing with the formulas that go along with it, we're going to start off with just a question that's going to be asking us to find the length of the diagonal in the following squares. And I'm going to go ahead and set up my notes. So we're given a square, so I'm just going to sketch a square here for us. And we know it's a square, which means all the angles are 90. And that's going to be our diagonal. And if it's a square, all the sides are the same. So I'm going to say one of these sides is 4 meters. So if that's 4, that means all the other sides are also going to be 4 meters. So I can go ahead and put that in my picture. Now, since this is a right triangle, because it's got a 90-degree angle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So my goal is to find C. So I want to find that diagonal. So then I'd go a squared, which is 4, plus b squared, which is 4, equals c squared. I get 16 plus 16 equals c squared. 32 equals c squared. Square root both sides, get c over here. And then this, if I break it down, is 16 times 2, which is 4 root 2. So that's my c, 4 root 2 meters. Now, if I was to just take and do just the triangle, so I'm going to do the triangle. This time, I'm still want to find that, but I'm going to say that this is 3 meters, which if this is 3 meters, this is 3 meters. So then if I use the Pythagorean theorem here, I get 3 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. 9 plus 9. 9 plus 9 equals c squared. 18 equals c squared. Take the square root. 18 is square root of 9 times 2. So then we get 3 square root of 2 meters. Now, what do you notice about both of those? You notice that 4, 4, 4 root 2. 3, 3, 3 root 2. So this is called a special right triangle. Now, something you need to remember as well. If these are the same, it means these angles are the same. These are the same. These angles are the same. It's an isosceles triangle. So if they're the same, I do 180 minus 90 divided by 2. I get each of these to be 45 degrees, which means up here, these are also 45 degrees. So our first special right triangle is a 45 degree, 90 triangle. So if I'm going to go ahead and draw that, I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. This is the formula that we're going to be using. So it's a 45, 45, 90, so 45 degrees, 90. And these two sides are the same, so I could also say it's an isosceles right triangle. If this is n, this is n, and this is n root 2. That's the formula that we're going to use, or the picture that we're going to be used for all our problems now. I'm going to use that right now, right there. So, very first problem that we're going to deal with . So the first problem we're going to be dealing with, the directions are going to ask us to find the unknown side length. So here's my triangle that I'm given. I'm given that it's a 45, 45, 90. And I know that this is 12 meters. So unknown side lengths. And I want to find A and B. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to this, and I'm going to label my sides. So that means this side is n, this side is n, this side is n root 2. From that, what does that tell me? I look at what am I given? I'm given this side. So I know n is 12, which means if a is equal to n, a equals 12. And if b is equal to n root 2, b equals 12 root 2. Do I know all my side lengths now? Yes, I do. And that would be my answer for that. Let's go a little bit more. So the next one. For this one, same thing, given a right triangle. This time I'm only being told that, which means, what does that mean? That means they're congruent. This time I'm given that this is 14 root 2. And then this is A and this is B. So I'm going to label my picture. So this is n, this is n, this is n root 2. So I'm going to circle the one that I was actually given, which is that one. So then I go over here and I know that 14 root 2 equals n root 2. How am I going to find n? I'm going to divide by root 2. And then what do I get? I get n is 14. Once I know n is 14, I can plug that in for a and b, which means a is 14 and b is 14. Now, since they don't give us units on this, we're going to just put a u. And there we go for those. Now, for the next one, still dealing with finding the unknown side lengths, so number 5. This time, same picture. All of these are going to be dealing with 45, 45, 90. This time, we're given the hypotenuse is 10 meters. And we're not given our two sides. So just like before, we're going to label our sides n, n, n root 2. And then I'm going to circle the one that's given me a number. So that's the one that's given me a number. So I know 10 equals n root 2. How am I going to find n? So I'm going to divide both sides by root 2. Cancels out on the right. And I get 10 over root 2. But remember, we're not supposed to have a radical in the denominator, so we're going to rationalize it. So we're going to multiply by itself, so root 2 over root 2, which is the same thing as multiplying by 1. That'll give me 10 root 2 on the top, root 4 on the bottom, which when you reduce, take the square root of 4, what do you get? 2. Then I can 2 goes in here 1, 2 goes in there 5, and my final answer is 5 root 2 equals n. So if 5 root 2 equals n, a equals n, and b equals n, that means a equals 5 root 2 meters, and b equals 5 root 2 meters. And then I've got both my sides that I didn't know. Let's go to the next one. For this one, still 45, 45, 90. This time we're given that it's an isosceles, right? Which means it's still 45, 45, 90. We're given that this side is 2 root 6 meters. And then we have an A and a B. So first thing, just like I've been doing, I'm going to label my sides. Then I'm going to circle the side that I'm given, which is that one right there. And I already know n. So I know n is 2 root 2, which is what I wanted to find. So if n is 2 root 2, that means A is 2 root 6, not 2 root 2, 2 root 6 meters. And then B is n, which is 2 root 6 times root 2. What do I get if I work that out? I get 2 root 12. N Root 12 can be broken down to be root 4 times root 3. So then I get 2 times root 3, or 4 root 3. There's my answer for B. So 4 root 3 meters for B and 2 root 6 meters for A. Next one. For this one, we're going to start out, we're going to deal with a square. I know that doesn't look like a square, but that's supposed to be a square. So we're given a square with diagonal length of 3 root 5. What are the side lengths? So I know this diagonal is 3 root 5, and we're going to say that's meters as well. And the question is asking us to find our side length, so it's asking us to find A and B. Now, remember, if this is a square, then that means this is 90, and these are 45 degrees. So if we go through and we label our sides, this is n, this is n, this is n root 2. And then we circle the side that we're given, which is that one. And then I'm going to write that statement over here. So 3 root 5 equals n root 2. Now, same thing as before. I need to get n by itself. So I'm going to divide by root 2. These cancel. And I get n equals 3 root 5 over root 2. Same thing as the one that we did previously where we can't have a root in our denominator, so we're going to rationalize it. So we're going to multiply by root 2 over root 2. And I end up on top getting 3 times root 10, because I can multiply those two out. On the bottom I get root 4, which is 2. And there's my n. So since that's my n, that means A equals 3 root 2 over 2, or sorry, 3 root 10 over 2 meters, and B equals 3 root 10 over 2 meters. And there's my A and my B. Okay, good luck on your quizzes. Miss you guys. See you soon.